I've got the Bears winning 35-22.
I think it's going to be a little closer than that. Union does have more weapons, and I do think they'll win, but I took the Bears 21-17.
I think it will be a good ball game. Again, Y Central with so much to play for as we are now climbing and right on their heels for that number 6 spot in the playoffs. Galax is at George Wythe. Again, we saw George Wythe just a few weeks ago. George Wythe quarterback Cole Simmons, he's been electrifying. They're averaging 37 points per game. Galax, though, is coming in averaging 44 points a game and 256 yards rushing each game. I think this game goes back and forth. George Wythe, pretty good football team, but Galax is a little bit better. I've got Galax knocking off George Wythe tonight, 28-21. Ridgeview is at John Battle. Again, Ridgeview coming off their first loss of the season. John Battle played them close last year. It was 7-7 with 11:55 left in the fourth quarter before Ridgeview finally pulled away. And if you remember, they called a couple of timeouts there to get an extra score for Adkins that made so there's maybe a little bit of a revenge factor for Battle if they can do anything with them. Sophomore Zach Moore, he's led the way for the John Battle attack this year, but I think it's going to be too much Ridgeview early and often. I think it's close for a while, but Ridgeview wins going away 42-14.
I think it's going to be pretty easy for Ridgeview also. I think kind of like Sullivan South from last week. Ridgeview was embarrassed, a little bit humiliated, and I think they're looking to take out some frustrations.
Virginia High at Graham. I think this is going to be one of the mismatches of the night. Graham knocked off Virginia High last year 44-7. Virginia High comes into this season, they've only had 4 starters back. They had no veterans on defense, and they've had a lot of injuries. Probably one of the weakest teams in the region. I've got Graham winning big, 55-7.
That's only if they get the snow cleared off the football field.
The clock
I'm sure they got some this week.
It's only 6:38, and the clock is already running. Richlands at Marion. Again, we've seen both of these teams. Last year, Richlands knocked off Marion 30-6. It was 7-0, though, at halftime. Last year, of course, Marion, as we saw last week, is just not as strong as they were last year. Richlands is playing some pretty good football right now. Senior Levi Forrest has contributed 9 field goals this year, and he's connected on 3 from at least 53 yards. And, again, he could have connected – he probably connect any time he wants to do that. Anyway, I think it's a big ball game for Richlands on the road. I think they win easy 42-7.
Let me ask you this, Joe, put you on the spot. I'm trying to wrap my brain still around these points and whatnot with the Virginia playoffs. Richlands playing Marion, it really, if I understand this correctly, is not going to influence Gay City that much as to whoever wins that game.
Right. We will get 2 points because we beat both of them. So we're going to get 2 additional points for the victory, and then we'll get 1 for the loss for strength of schedule. So, yeah.
So it's a push either way.
Right.
Okay.
It just bodes well for us. Again, the more points we can get, the better.
It's only taken a season, but I'm starting to get this.
Well, and this will get more topsy-turvy as we keep going along. So, all right, so Hurley is at Honaker tonight. Again, Honaker crushed Hurley last year 39-0. But I think this year is going to be a different story. While Hurley still has 1 remaining game left in the Black Diamond, the Rebels can all but wrap up their first district crown since 2016 with a win tonight. One of the youngest head coaches in the region versus one of the oldest tonight. The Rebels and the Tigers have a lot to play for. I think it goes back and forth, but they are too strong and physical. I have to give the Hurley Rider Rebels the win on the turf at Honaker, 28-25.
Ooh, I've got a little bit wider margin than that. I took Hurley 35-28.
Good physical football team. We'll see what happens. Eastside's at Twin Springs. Eastside, again, blasted Twin Springs last year. Of course, that game at Coburn, Grayson Whitehead and Evan Bellamy both have been superb. Of course, they showed that last week in their blowout win over Rye Cove. Twin Springs is coming off a hard-fought 10-6 loss to Castlewood. Again, this is a different Twin Springs team. They run the ball extremely well. However, I think that with it being homecoming night and Eastside coming in with so much to play for, I got to give them the edge. I'll give the Spartans the win, but close, 33-30.
You're hung up on that homecoming thing, aren't you?
I is.
I'm going with the Titans in this one, 21-14, touchdown margin.
That, of course, you're with Larry and Andy. Larry and Andy picked up 4 upsets. As, again, most folks, if you'll go to our website or our Facebook page, And you can see all of our picks each week. So, again, make sure to go there. Rural Retreats at Chilhowie. Chilhowie blasted Rural Retreat last year. Chilhowie's just on a different level than Rural Retreat at this point. Both teams, again, they coming off bye weeks, but the Warriors are getting better. They were very, very young to start the season. They had four returners coming back. They've got some experience now. They eye that game coming up with Patrick Henry. I think Chilhowie wins this one tonight, 38-16.
Yeah, I don't think this game's going to be very close at all.
Holston they won their first 3 games. They lost their last 3. And, again, 2 of those losses have come to undefeated teams, Narrows and Patrick Henry. The Cavs, though, should get back on track tonight. It's been a dismal year for Northwood, and the Panthers have just scored 7 touchdowns all season in 6 games. Holston wins this one easy, I think, 38-8.
I got a little closer. I got them 28-14, but I do think the Cavs win it.
Again, at home, make sure you don't kick it to the one side or you'll lose the football. J.I. Burton is at Grundy. J.I. Burton rolled to their 4th straight win last week. Again, first-year coach Jacob Call likes the physicality of his team. They're starting to play well, and, again, they've got a little bit of speed. Grundy, though, lost 2 in a row after starting the season 4-0. Again, this game being played at Grundy, it's close early, but J.I. Burton wins going away 48-12.
I think it's going to be a little bit closer. Grundy, they're playing really good defense. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Burton squeaks by. I've got them 14-10.
A low-scoring game.
I think so. That Grundy defense, I think, is going to keep them in the game.
I think the drive over, Larry and Andy said the drive over was worth 7 points. That's all he was given to Grundy in a 47-7 game. Thomas Walker's at Twin Valley. Thomas Walker, again, the number 2 seed right now in the 1D division. Again, they blasted Twin Valley last year. They're off to the best start since 1996. They're 5-1, and I think they'll get it done tonight. Nick Johnson of Thomas Walker and Jeremy Ward of Twin Valley, they're both Grundy High School graduates. Be a long trip for Thomas Walker, but they're going to like the trip back. Thomas Walker knocks off Twin Valley tonight, 49-16. Lebanon's at Castlewood. Back and forth, I think this game will go. Lebanon's looking for their first win of 2019, while Castlewood is trying to make some history. The Blue Devils have not beaten Lebanon since 1987.
Wow.
Castlewood's at 4-3. They've already surpassed last year's win total. Landon Taylor and Shane Asco, they are among the players who've emerged as Castlewood's go-to guys. Lebanon is allowing almost 37 points per game. History, I think, is going to be on their side. I'm going to give Castlewood the win close, 27-26. I think they knock them off, especially being at home.
Well, I don't think this one's going to be that close. Lebanon, right now, they're in the middle of a season that I think they would just as soon forget. I don't think tonight's going to make it any better. I've got Castlewood winning 49-14.
Well, that's why you are who you are.
Well, and you know how my Virginia picks usually go. So.
Well, again, Castlewood, good. Larry Andy made a very interesting point, and it's kind of true. Seems like every year Castlewood has that one game that they should win, and they lose. They said this was it. This was their number 4 upset of the week. They're taking Lebanon to get the first win. Also, talking about those power points, huge for Castlewood because Lebanon is a 2A group. That's a Gate City size, so they'll pick up extra points for playing somebody bigger and maybe getting a win. So that will be big for them. UNACA is at Rye Cove. This is the first meeting ever between these two. Rye Cove, they've lost 3 straight, while UNACA is 1-6. They've dropped 5 in a row. I think this game will go back and forth. Being at Rye Cove, they've seen Jonathan Howell as a freshman. He's played extremely well. Depends on how healthy Rye Cove, though, is in this game. Goes back and forth. I've got UNACA winning 38-36.
Well, UNACA's played some really stout competition this year. They've played Hampton, if I'm not mistaken, Happy Valley. Both those teams are pretty much playoff bound. I'm glad this wasn't on our picking panel. I'd have to think on this one. It's going to be a good one.
It should be
down there in Clinchport.
Should be a good ball game, but of course, you're talking about UNACA. We were talking about the stats earlier. UNACA, they've got somebody in the top. Of course, their quarterback is in the top 10 passing in Northeast Tennessee. They've got 2 running backs in the top 15. They've got 2 receivers in the top 15, and they've also got some guys on the defensive side. So, but again, Rye Cove at home. depends on how healthy the Harden brothers are. There's the two that sort of their catalyst, and we'll see what happens. Bluefield, West Virginia is at Tazewell. Tazewell is kind of a little bit of a tailspin right now. They rushed for 328 yards in this game last year, but again, they lost that ball game 60-18. Of course, this week they come in and they're down about 3 of their major starters in terms of their defense or their offensive backfield and their defensive backfield as well. Bluefield, the runners-up in the state championship game of West Virginia last year. Bluefield wins this one, I think, easy, 49-0.
We'll go with that. Sounds good to me. Once we kind of get out of this area, I'm not nearly as familiar with the teams, but like you said, state runner-ups, that's going to be a hard row to hoe.
Tazewell, of course, they're kind of a little bit of a free fall. They were in the number 3 spot last week. They're down to number 5 this week. Another loss or 2, another Gate City win. Things starting to bode well for the Blue Devils. Of course, not getting ahead of ourselves, but looking down the road, things are lining up for the Blue Devils. Talking about the picking panel, last week wasn't. Let's see.
I'm afraid I'm getting to the point with our picks now where I'm going to have to purposely pick the opposite of what I think you'll pick and hope for some upsets just so I can climb back into this.
Well, I think that's what Larry and Andy's in their upset special week this week.
Could we divide this maybe into Tennessee and Virginia?
Well, we'll talk about it.
I'm grasping at straws here.
In the executive meeting we have, we'll
production meeting.
Right. Tanner and I both were 14-2 last week at a 4-game lead over Tanner right now. I'm sitting at 85-19. Tanner at 81-23. Again, you stumped your toe a couple of them last week. It was 11-5. You're at 75-29, 10 games back of me and 6 of Tanner. Larry and Andy, though, they're 12-4, starting to climb a little bit. 71-33. They are 4 games behind you as we come into the last 3 weeks of the picking panel.
Yep, desperation's about to sit in for me.
So, again, make sure that you go to our Facebook page. Also on our Instagram, we've posted that as well. Chris, a couple of games that sort of jumps out to you. Northeast Tennessee that you want to talk about briefly that, again, that we've covered. But
well, Tennessee High Crockett, that game's going to be huge. I think Crockett will win it, but Tennessee High – They can explode and score quickly, but I just think Crockett has way too many weapons there for them. That's one game I'm really interested in.
All right, so we've got about 13 minutes left before kickoff. They're going to have the playing of the national anthem, so we'll pause, Chris, right there. We'll have a quick break. Again, you're listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio. With over 100 offices throughout Virginia, you can count on your local Virginia Farm Bureau insurance agents to be there when you need them most. Whether you find yourself in a fender bender, insuring your first home, or with a new addition to the family, our agents are ready to help you through every stage of life. Connect with your local agents, Whitney McConnell, Richard Helms, and David Weddick here in Scott County at 386-7411 or online at vafb.com. Coverage provided by Virginia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company and their affiliates.
Hello, I'm Sheriff Chris Holder, and I'm asking for your vote for Sheriff of Scott County on Tuesday, November the 5th. After 23 years with the Sheriff's Office as Deputy and Chief Deputy, I want to make a difference in our county. My number one priority is protecting you and your family. Since I became Sheriff on March 1st, we have made almost 500 drug arrests. As Sheriff, I will not answer to any political parties, political families, or high-ranking politicians. I will only answer to you.
Vote Chris Holder for Sheriff on November 5th.
You are listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
And we're back here live from Legion Field, Gate City and Lehigh. Coming up here around about 11 and a half minutes. Chris, we were talking about a few games that you were looking at Northeast Tennessee. What was another one that sort of jumped out at you?
Well, that Unaka game down at Rye Cove, I think that's going to be pretty interesting. That could go either way. That should be a really close game. Boone at Cott County, that could be a good one. Then, of course, there's the big one also, Greenville at Elizabethton. But I don't know. My spidey sense is tingling on that one. I really don't think that's going to be much of a game.
Well, we'll see if Elizabethton, and some have said in the media, they thought that Elizabethton was kind of fool's gold, if you will. Again, when you're taking on some of the teams.